Well, thank you, Sam, for the introduction and the comments. And for those of you who are participating today, thanks for being here. My name is Dana Turner, and I'll be your guide for this webinar. My information is that the group today comes from all walks of life, not just bankers, and that many different types of businesses are also represented today. Unlike most of my presentations, particularly the ones for BOL, today's webinar focuses upon personal safety issues first and business safety issues second. If you are representing a business today, I hope that you'll also share this information with representatives of your security and your training departments. What you should have available to you today as part of the presentation is the PowerPoint slide deck that's entitled Personal Survival, 25 Rules to Live By. It's designed to be a best of all worlds presentation that's appropriate for everyone, and my presentation follows the PowerPoint headings, and I'll always let you know where we are along the way. In addition to these 25 different rules to live by, I will also share with you at least 100 different types of survival tips today. Several of them you may know about, but many of them you likely won't, because we will share different backgrounds, and that'll become evident as we go through this presentation today. Now, this isn't a brag. This is my 42nd year of crime. I spent my entire adult life in understanding crime and why it happens and what we can do to be able to prevent it. I'm always on the right side, of course. I've never been a crook. I've always been on the good side. And it's my 40th year in teaching people how to stay alive in the worst of circumstances. I have taught police firearms, self-defense tactics, weaponless defense tactics, street survival tactics for cops for years before I ever began working in the financial crime area. Today's program grew out of survival training seminars that I delivered to law enforcement agents, their officers, their families, and eventually to students and business people in many communities that are just like yours. So this information today is applicable no matter where you live and work. This isn't just based upon one area. This is all over the country. My program for you today is logical, it's simple, and it works. Now, having said that, fair warning, you may not like some of my suggestions, however, and I'm prepared to deal with those too. Please reserve judgment on what I tell you today until we're all done. I will unashamedly try to change your attitudes and beliefs about violence and the simple, logical program that goes along with this. Following the simple and effective strategies and tactics that I'll present to you today during this presentation will significantly reduce your likelihood of becoming a victim of any violent act, or at least to be able to increase your chances of survival if you do, in fact, become a victim. It's also important, and you'll understand why so much as we go through this, that you share this information and your plans with your family and your coworkers. That said, let's go ahead and start with the PowerPoint presentation that is entitled Personal Survival, 25 Rules to Live By, and today's premises, and I have a couple of them. You'll notice that there is no separate workbook text to this because this is an evolutionary program. It'll depend somewhat upon the questions that you may provide to Sam, a couple of questions that came in earlier, and it's evolutionary in the types of problems that we will get into today. So I have a premise. My premise spans the first 2 pages of your workbook material, or the first 2 slides. We're going to refer to this right now as it meaning a violent act. Today's premise is it can happen and does happen to you or someone you know, anywhere, anytime, and any place. So what you should know, according to the statistics from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and from OSHA, is that currently the average is 1 in every 4 Americans has been, is now, or will be the victim of a violent act in his or her lifetime. That's 1 in 4. We have hundreds of people who will be participating in here today, and that means 25% of you has been, is now, or will be the victim of a violent crime in your lifetime. So what I ask you to do is suspend your normal belief today and believe that anything like this can happen to you, anywhere, anytime, and any place. If you start off my presentation today with the attitude that says, none of this is ever going to happen to me, then we're already off balance. Next premise, you can be standing in the wrong place at the wrong time and meet an attacker who is standing in the right place at the right time for him or her. So not all the stuff we talk about today is planned. You can be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and it's not your fault, but you may still become a victim. For those of you who watch televisions and movies, I will tell you that violence is not anything like it looks like on TV or in movies. I have not only been a police officer and a deputy sheriff and a special projects director and a variety of other things that deal with, we'll call it street work for law enforcement. but I've been a trainer for you for an awful long time. When you look at violence as it looks on TV or movies, I've also been a deputy coroner, by the way, so I used to do death investigations, and I did a lot of those. Things that are real don't look anything like they are in the media. So I'm going to suggest that, again, you suspend your belief today, and anything that you may have seen on TV or movies, recognize that it is not an accurate depiction of what happens in real life. The next premise is that luck likely will not be enough to ensure your survival if you were attacked. Now, I don't know how you define luck. I typically define it as being in the right place at the right time. But luck isn't probably going to ensure your survival if you are attacked. There will be other factors, and many of them you can control. So, in my term in law enforcement, I interviewed and interrogated, well, let me back this up. I interviewed thousands and thousands of victims to find out what happened, how it happened, what their role was in that, where the evidence was, who the suspects were, and then interrogating the suspects later on that would go along with that. So this isn't just my viewpoint for you today. These are the thousands of victims and suspects who are going to bring into you the ways that they either avoided these kinds of things, survived these kinds of things, or if they're on the offender side, how they planned them along the way. So you might as well take advantage of their experiences rather than have to go out and recreate these things on your own. I don't recall that very many people ever said that luck was a factor in any part of their survival. So if that is what you're depending upon, and matter of fact, most of you are normal today that we talk about, and we're going to talk about normal and not normal, but if you know anything at all about cops, we are not normal, and most of us pretty happily so. We don't think like other people. We don't process information. We don't prioritize like other people. We have a different game plan, and it's one that we're not born with. We acquired through training and experience and use. So when we look at luck, I don't depend upon this at all. If you're a normal person, most people will say when they have avoided an act like this or survived one, that, boy, was I lucky today. And I'm going to suggest to you that luck is not going to figure in anything in the plans that I have lined out for you today. Now, on your slide number 3, continuing with today's premise, this may sound sexist, but it's not. It's about your gender, whether you're a man or a woman, your age, whether you're 18 or 85, whether your physical strength, you never work out or you work out every day, your physical condition, you pass an annual physical every year, your body shape, no matter how you happen to be shaped, your agility, your ability to be able to move and control your body parts, your mental acuity, the way that you process information, recognize threats, and develop a plan for dealing with them, they will all affect your results. So these things have to be taken in, and this is what I was leading up to in my introduction part, is that there is no right way to do this. Everything is going to be dependent on several different factors. And one of my goals here for you today is to make certain that you can control as many of the things around your environment that will keep you from getting involved in these things as humanly possible. So recognize this is an individual program, and the person sitting next to you is going to come up with a different plan than you will. It's got to be individual. I really believe that avoiding your involvement in a violent act is your first priority. You know, I will go to great lengths to go cross the street or go do something else to avoid a confrontation with somebody if that's possible. Now, as a cop, you might understand that my attitude was entirely different. I'd go out and look for trouble because that was my job, but that is not my job any longer. And now I'm a citizen just like you are. I would prefer to avoid these kinds of things and make sure they don't happen. However, if they do happen, then I want you to be able to act appropriately if your prevention efforts are unsuccessful. So I'm prepared to do other things. In other words, if you only have one plan, it's kind of like learning how to play a musical instrument. You can only play one song on a piano. You're going to keep people in a recital happy with you for one song, one play, and then the first 2 bars of the next repeat of the same song. You've got to have a menu of choices to be able to work from. So that means acting appropriately. And for me, the word appropriate is real simple. It means it works. If you're attacked, your only goal should be to escape. It isn't to collect your wallet, your purse, your computer, your iPad, or anything else like that. If somebody attacks you, your only goal really ought to be to escape. Now, whether you inflict damage on your opponent is entirely up to you. But if somebody attacks me now, I just want to get out of there. I want to escape. I do not want to make the situation any worse, and I just want to go.